Okay, a lot of really important stuff to tell you today, but I won't be able to get much past YouTube. So, those of you who are not on my channel on Rumble, my channel is Christine Gavin Broken Twig. Please go over there because what I've got to say is incredibly important. And yeah, so I'm just going to rush it through the little bits that I can tell you, okay? Fantastic news, everything that I have been saying, God has just been confirming and, to do with Trump, so those of you who still don't believe he is who I say he is, please listen to me today. I've got, even more proof for you. But it all takes me right back to my beginnings, which is this old sculpture and what it means about the time that we're in, also about this. But the first thing I'm going to start off with today is what we're seeing now. What we're seeing now, which is the real pull down. You'll see Candace Owen, all the anti-Semitism that's rising up, and I'm sure a lot of you don't know how to deal with it. And this guy here, like me, is a Jew, Robert Sepper. If you haven't, watched his videos, go look him up. He's got the whole deal. But the person I'm going to show you today, who is an exiled brain surgeon, and not only has he got all this, all the fake Jew, and this is the whole thing, you've got to remember in the Bible, it actually says, in the end times, 5 men will take the hand, or 5 or 7, of one Jew and say, can we, come with you, we believe God is with you. And this is what we have to keep in mind and understand. I'm a Rothschild, and I've only just found that out. Can you imagine what it's been like? The shock it's been like, and it was only through having my DNA done that I found, oh no, it wasn't, it was a little bit before that, but that has confirmed it. But that, like the Twin Towers, the Holocaust, I've got to really watch what I say, was a huge blood sacrifice, and that the real Jews, those who would not go along with Zionism, were sacrificed for the state of Israel. So you really have to get to that as a Christian, understand what's really going on, like with the big platforms like Mike Ranger, Health Ranger, Alex the guy, just there's so much there. They don't, I think, well, I know Alex does, but they are tools like Candace to keep you under the religious control system. And what I want to show you is that Trump, and my sculpture, and this whole time is about coming out of that control system and really becoming what Christ wanted us to be, what Christ died for, so that we could have that direct relationship with the Father, but all the religious, from Constantine, these secret societies, pretending, he pretended to be a Christian, but what the X he was talking about was not the cross of Christ. It was the cross of the skull and bones. Anyway, I'm going to go straight to it. This is just so amazing because I didn't know that John F. Kennedy's father was also a part of those who were trying to take down this cabal. I actually thought he was one of them. And so I'm just going to show you this guy, this brain surgeon. And the reason he's so incredibly important is because not only does he know where all the bodies are buried, but he understands from a brain surgeon why they've done it, why everything, why the trails, why the computer, everything that's happening, and it's all to do with, your pineal gland, just all the sickness, all the VAXs, all that stuff. It's incredible. It's 4 hours long. and I believe I had to go back and watch it twice. The second time, because it all gets into the mafia, it all gets into the pokies, the gambling thing, what they learned from closing up the windows, and the blue lights, everything that's affecting us now. Why you're so depressed? Why there's just so why Americans are so overweight. Everything. It's all been part of this incredible plan, and he exposes it all. So, and it began, not began, but this here was a big part of it.
To the world, wake up to the fact that this was a false flag operation.
Right. And now, as you're out there with professionals who understand what it is that they're seeing, what were you all saying to each other when you're looking at this molten lava?
Well, we were overcome with grief. First of all, we lost 343 guys. We weren't talking about that. If you look at
Okay, so I won't let him say it. You can find that on my channel. That's he's a fire chief that was there on the day, and his name is Rudy Dent. So if you go to my Rumble channel, he's there, but you'll have to scroll down and you'll see the whole lot. But that man, and he's only able to testify, of course, because he had retired. All the others had to keep quiet because they would lose everything. So now I'm just going to go to the brain surgeon. He's now an exiled brain surgeon, and the stories he has to tell are incredible. So I'll just let you see that, and it's quite funny. As soon as I went there, I came across these, even though he didn't talk about that day, I don't think, the comments certainly are talking about it.
The reason why HMOs came up, because what do? They put the government between us and our patients. They did the same thing with the media, and they did it 30 years before. Bro, these people are brilliant, Danny. I'm telling you, they really are. And the thing is, all I'm doing with you guys today, coming in here straight from off the plane, so I'm putting some Windex on your glass eyes. That's all I'm doing. And I want you to understand truly what your world is all about, because you said you got kids. I don't know the cat behind the screen back there. That's what I'm saying. And I want you guys to understand that I don't want you to be bullshitted anymore. Like I always tell people, a half-truth always leads to a full lie. Like all the people that you've had in here, they didn't know bits and pieces of the story, but you know why? It was by design. The industrial military complex cannot let you know all this stuff. Because if you knew it, you would fucking take them out in a minute. These people are more nefarious than King George was in 1774.
Right. That's what I'm afraid of.
They're making fucking Hitler look like, a gangster.
Okay.
I got news for you, bro. These people are bad.
All right. So I want to, I'll say. And so that is on Patriot Street Fighter, and the guy interviewing him is Danny Jones? Yeah. And so I just want to take you now to the story of Robert, because Robert also, as I said, is also Jewish, and he understands it all very as well. So, okay, here it goes. And this is why you've got to understand, you cannot judge all the JEWs by the same thingy, because they have all been taken in. Through infiltration, stealth and cunning, this invisible network has come to rule us all. Now you just go and look up, I've told you before, okay, I'll tell you. 41 years after Shabbatai Zevi's death in 1717, they would infiltrate masonry guilds in England and establish Freemasonry. Zevi's successor, Jacob Frank, would have a great impact on the inner core of Freemasonry, known as the Illuminati, formed in 1776. And you'll know that's also when your constitution was instituted, same month after. Freemasonry would become the hidden force behind events like the American, French and Russian revolutions, the creation of the United Nations and Israel, both world wars, including the Holocaust, and the assassination of the Kennedy brothers, who together with their father tried to thwart the efforts of the network on American soil. Sabbatean Francus, also referred to as the cult of the all-seeing eye, look at your $1 bill, to begin to understand their influence in your life, are political and religious chameleons. They are everywhere there is power. They are the good guys and the bad guys. World War II is a prime example. Now, I've told you that and showed you that many times, on my videos. But this one here, if you look at this, protocols of the because I can't say it, I've had to rub it. I've told you all about, there you go. Can you read that? Look that up. And it'll all have all this debunk stuff, talking about this conspiracy theory that that the world has been run by a few very, very rich Jews. It's like, talk about telling you the truth in plain sight. Well, I mean, who owns everything? And what are they? But anyway, and so I'm going to show you another one. And sadly, this is someone that I've had written many books. This is one of his here. I'm sure you would have heard of him. This one here said, so they use anything. This is the wolf, and all the Christians sit there with their mouths hanging out, believing every word he says. So now I'm just going to show you. This is a video of his talking about that day, and now now that I've shown you that it was a false, what does this make this great big sermon of his all about? It's just, we know that there were Mossad art students filmed putting their explosives on the several floors of the building, shall we say, and that they were seen dancing afterwards, filmed dancing afterwards, and many other things. So, but here his old Jonathan Cahn got a captive audience, using the whole thing to elevate the religious men of the religious Orthodox Judaism, when in fact it was all a big lie.
For initiating their mission of destruction, when the Defense Department had no idea, when the intelligence agencies had no idea, the world's most sophisticated early warning system 20 years ago failed to discern the ancient biblical alarm that warned cities of the enemy's attack was sounding. There is an appointed time in the Hebrew year when the sound of the watchman is heard in the early hours of the day. Only a small window of days when that sound converges with the reciting of scriptures linked to judgment, or a national judgment. A nation, the context is a nation that had known God, like Israel, but turned away. And so the scriptures are recited and the shofar is sounded, and it's pleading for mercy. The prayers are called the silachot, the prayers for mercy in light of judgment. And they're recited in the early morning, and the trumpets are sounded in the early morning, and they are linked to the rising of the sun. One of those days was September 11, 2001. The morning of September 11th, 20 years ago. According to the ancient ordinance, the scriptures and prayers regarding judgment were being recited in the morning. Recited even in New York City before it happened. And the scriptures of national judgment and calling for mercy. And then the shofars were sounded throughout, with a link to the rising of the sun, the first light of dawn and the sunrise. So in the morning of 9/11, the trumpets of the watchmen, the alarm that warned the ancient city that an attack was coming, began to sound in America. And it began to sound according to the sunrise, so it first sounded on America's northeast coast. It was appointed to sound first in Maine, so in Portland, Maine, it began to sound, and that's where the terrorists were. That's where it all began. The trumpets were appointing to sound there in Maine at approximately 5:45 a.m. At approximately 5:45 a.m., the first terrorists were in Portland Airport, passing through security. Their picture got taken, heading to the gate to begin the attack. So the ancient sound of the watchman's warning was sounding. As the sunrise moved west, the ancient trumpets began to sound in Boston. And it was there and then in Boston that the terrorists would take off for their target, as the ancient alarm was sounding warning. The sunrise continued to move, and the trumpet of the watchman's warning now began sounding in New York City, the next site of attack. As the sound echoed throughout the city, warning that the enemy was coming to attack, it was all over New York City. As the sun continued its...
Okay, so if, and I'm sure you'll believe Rudy Dent, and your president, who I might add, and this is your president for 3 terms now, I believe, was the first to call it that it was controlled demolition, and he called it right at the beginning. So if that's the case, then what is all this garbage that he is obviously, that they set it up, if these films are there of these so-called terrorists in Maine, which we all know did not exist, and also they happened to find the passports of these terrorists, so where's he at? But all that aside, that this is what I just want to try and tell you, and you decide. I'm not trying to tell you anything. One good thing I did find on this a little bit further on, when he said, when he just starts describing the watchman on the wall, and that not only do they warn of the bad things, but they are also the ones that warn, that announce the coming of the king. They are the first ones to see the king come. So I am proud to accept that responsibility, and I hope you guys have understood how hard I've tried.
Emphasized much deeper and farther since, and the warnings have gone unheeded. And that brings us to where we are now. This weekend I'm led to speak about the watchmen and about the call of the watchmen, and that means you. God says in Isaiah 62, I've set watchmen on your walls, Jerusalem. They will never hold their peace. Don't be quiet. Don't be silent, watchmen. The word for watchman in the Bible, in the Hebrew, there's 2 major words. One is the word tsofet. Try it. Tsofet means one who beholds, one who looks up, one who looks carefully, one who waits, and one who keeps. The most famous word for the watchman is the word shomer. Try it. Means one who guards, one who takes heed, one who keeps. Comes from a root word, shamar, which means to hedge, to guard, to protect, to mark, to look narrowly, to observe, to preserve, to wait for, to keep, to save. So the watchman could also be called the protector, the hedger, the marker, the observer, the guard, the preserver, the waiter, the watcher, the keeper, the one who saves. It says, I have appointed watchmen. The watchman had to be appointed by man, but here God is saying, I'm appointing watchmen as well. They had a critical calling on which the entire fate of their culture, their civilization, depended. The watchmen had gigantic responsibility. Today we have defense systems all over the world. Then you had a watchman, or a few watchmen, responsible for the entire city or the kingdom for the safety, so they had to take their position seriously. They didn't have satellites, they had their eyes. They had to have a good eyesight. The watchman had to be focused, couldn't get distracted, couldn't get entangled on couldn't be distracted by what was going on in the city and the marketplace below him, couldn't hang out in the city to be a watchman, couldn't be involved with what everybody else was, he wouldn't be doing his job. Had to stay separate. He had to take his post on the walls, on the watchtower, on the gate. If he didn't take his position, could not do it. It says in Habakkuk, the prophet says, I will stand my watch. I will station myself on the rampart of the walls, and I will watch to see what he will say to me. Here the prophet is speaking as the watchman. That one of the symbols of the prophet is the watchman, because they had to warn their people. But the watchman had to be on the ramparts, had to be above the city in order to see what was coming over the horizon or in the distance. And the nighttime was the time of the watchman, especially because everybody was sleeping. It says in Isaiah 21, watchmen, what about the night? What about the night? They asked the watchman, because they're asleep. The watchman, the nighttime was the main time, the critical time. City slept, more vulnerable, when danger was likely to come, under the darkness, when few people were aware of anything. So the watchman had to stay awake, couldn't sleep, had to stay vigilant, couldn't get drowsy, had to keep himself up. That's why we speak of the different watches of the night. The Bible speaks of the first watch, the second watch, the third watch. It was the time of the watchman, the one who stayed up while everybody else was asleep. Not only did he dwell above the city, but he had to look from a high place, look at everything into the distance, train himself to see it. And if he saw anything, that's when he grabs the shofar, sets it to his mouth, and blows as hard as he can. Now the watchman not only would look for the danger, but also would be looking to see of good things. You know, if there was a procession of good things, the watchman would be the first to see it as well. He would see if a king was coming as well. The watchman would be the first. Now let's put it together.
Okay, well, oh, is the king coming? I have told you the king has come, and here we have, unfortunately, like him, he has all the knowledge, but he has not recognised that the king is here. And so now I would like to show you how amazing is God. I don't know if you can see this. This is one other. Some of you might remember my video of 2 nights ago, or not 2 nights ago, sorry, 2 nights before Trump won, that I filmed the sign that I watched in the night sky. Well, the 5th, tomorrow, oh golly, my husband's birthday. My real husband's birthday is on the 7th. America is waiting for the big day for Donald, my spiritual husband. And when I saw this, the new moon there tonight, I knew there was something special about it. Hardly anything ever happens in my birth sign, which is Libra. And there it is. But what do we have? So there we have it. I won't continue because I got it all wrong. So here we've got the sun at the top, and there is oh golly, where's the moon? Hang on, there's the sun. We've got the scales. We're waiting to see one night. Here's the new moon here, and this I believe is Venus. Unfortunately, I didn't wait to see what that is, but I believe that's Venus. That's what it would point to. One night until all this horror should end. And what have we got there? We've got the sun right at the tip. So the Libra is the balance. It's also justice. And boy, we've been waiting for justice for a long, long time. So, Connie, I don't know what you're doing. Is it still the 5th? For Donald, my spirit. And what was that? Was it Jupiter? The big day for Donald, my spiritual husband. And when I saw this, the new moon, all this horror should end. And what have we got there? We've got the sun right at the tip. So the Libra is the balance. It's also justice. And boy, we've been waiting for justice for a long, long time. So, Connie, I don't know what you're doing tonight, darling. I just hope it all goes the way that we've waited for so, so long. And there, you see my moon, it's just so black. But here, I can see it's a bit more than the first sliver. And there we've got Jupiter above. and the moon, and so if I just look in, it's just a bit hard to get it all sorted out so that we've got the words. Okay, so that is Mercury, okay, which is the messenger. Mercury is at the tip, so it's Libra, and so of course I meant to say Mercury is in the, that's the sun obviously, and Mercury. Can you see that? Might be a bit too much, but there's Mercury. There's and Mercury there. That's what I meant. That's Mercury there in the base. And of course, any of those of you who remember my dreams, remain the pivot and receive the anointing. Well, that I believe relates to that, and that this is the time of the when after all these years, so this here is my poor old sculpture that's never got fired, and this is what it talks about in this Labyrinth book, when it talks about the Leviathan and the boar, the Leviathan and the Behemoth in the Aramaic Hebrew letter circuit clock, the first and the final forms of the Tasadi. Okay, so that there is my Tasadi. So this is the sculpture that I made when I first came to the Lord, and I was just so broken, and I didn't think God wanted me. And I found this piece of driftwood on the beach, and it just made me think of this scripture of this, and I just, after being inspired by it, I made the sculpture. And I've been told that this is actually a really brilliant sculpture by an artist called Dennis Knight Turner, who's no longer with us. But here it is. So this is how I felt, that I had no breasts to protect me. I had, or to make me, no arms to protect me or cover myself with. I had no breasts to make myself attractive. The more that I bent over to hide my shame this way, right, the more exposed I was from the other. And, so that's, pretty, and it's so appropriate that she's all broken now. Because I did that I don't know, was it 40 years ago? Yeah, I think it's 40 years. So, and, haven't got much recognition from it, but this is the whole symbolism of it, which is the Tasadi. So here, as it talks about, last, I might have to close that curtain, mightn't I? When it talks about the Red Bull, and my first video that I did was "The war is over, the Red Bull is coming to get it to save us," and that was it was in 2016, and when God just first started revealing to me who Donald Trump was and what the time that we were in. We were in the time when Christ was returning, not in the flesh as he was in Jesus, but as the rain in the spirit, as the rain, when he comes to live in us properly, in the way that he prophesied in Luke 17 verse 20. And here, so that is why the Ouroboros, so the picture, the symbol here of this clock is the Ouroboros, when time eats itself, and the Tasadi represents. So this is the Tasadi. So I'll just, my goodness, I will maybe just give you a little bit of Rudy while I listen to it. What I go.
Videos, you'll see the guys bent over in incredible grief. One of the things that we have in the fire department is an incredible brotherhood. We do what we do, an aggressive interior attack, because we believe in each other. We know that our guys will pull us out if we get into trouble. And if we lose somebody, it's we're family. We're very close. We know each other's families. We know each other's children. And one of the things that I've been privy to is I'm proud of is that I see the New York City Fire Department is a calling.
Okay, so look it up. It's an incredible testimony, and you really have to know sort of what went down. But this is what I want to just finish off. I think it's everything I wanted to show you, how I've told you that Trump is who I say he is. But here, and I'm not saying that he's God, God forbid, but I'm saying that just like Jesus, so he was a Messiah. He had come to carry his people over, just like Moses, through the Red Sea. So Revelation, and we are in that time of Revelation, and that the time is over, that we have been waiting for. It says the letter to Sardis is said to symbolise the righteousness of God, and devout human beings. The pronunciation of this letter's name, so I'll let you look at my thingy, of this letter's name, is very close to the Hebrew word for a righteous man. In its normal bent Tasadi form, Tasadi almost has the appearance of a man on bended knee. Okay, so you can see my here, apart from my spindle, and here it is. Can you see the man on bended knee? The final Tasadi is straightened and said to denote the final acceptance of a righteous person in the world to come. How perfectly this reflects the theme of the book of Revelation. Okay, so which side does it look more like my Tasadi? I'll take it you from that side there. Okay, so can you see what I'm saying if you compare the shape of that? The light is unbelievable of that there, but this is the time to come when we stand up, that we're no longer on our knees begging for forgiveness, but we're standing as free men of God, just like Trump. It says how perfectly this reflects the theme of the book of Revelation. This wonderful book concludes the church age and the judgment of the world. The righteous judge, the Lamb, comes forth and brings the times of the Gentiles to an end. Revelation also depicts Christ's second coming to defeat armies. The system of Satan is destroyed at the judgment of the great white throne. Finally, the eternal state is established. The new Jerusalem and the new heaven and the new earth are brought into being at long last. Eternal righteousness is established, and the righteous live in fellowship with God forever after. So I hope that made sense, but if it didn't, I'm sorry. It's the best I can do, but please look up these things, and I'll leave links on the video, I promise, and but look up my channel, Christine Gavin Broken Twig on Rumble, and I hope you're on the right side by now. I think that's all. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.